Hey everyone, I wanted to introduce you to Akhil, whose video I saw through Adam Carswell. Thanks to Adam, by the way. And I had a couple of questions for him. We talked about it. Now I wanted to introduce because he's got great insights, kind of contrary to what I believed. But I'll let him go and get into it. But first, Akhil, please introduce yourself and tell us how you got here and what do you do now right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to talk to your audience. So I am the director of Property Sharemarket Economics, which is a newsletter service that I set up with my friend, Phil Anderson, who's the author of this book called The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking, which was a very comprehensive history of the real estate cycle in the US since 1800. So we help investors understand how the cycle works, where we are in it, provide market commentary, forecasts of the stock market and real estate markets, and basically help investors plan their future based on our research of the cycle.
Got you. How did you get what you got here? I mean, what was your background to how did you end up here?
Yeah, slightly unusual background. So I've not ever studied any economics. It's all personal interest. And it actually started in the financial crisis in 2009. So I didn't really I wasn't convinced by the, explanations that were coming out about why it happened and that sort of thing, and whether or not you could have seen it coming. So and actually what tipped me off was my dad's business had a lot of trouble in 2009. And it had gone through a pretty difficult period in the early 90s. And I was thinking to myself, well, why aren't people putting those two episodes together? Because they both happened and they both involved problems in the banking system, and they both were preceded by big booms in the real estate market. I thought, well, there's some similarities here that people aren't seeing. And I thought, I'm going to find out what they are. And then I'm going to, try and develop some knowledge to be able to help investors in the future so they're prepared, they can take advantage of the cycle and make sure they're not affected by the downturn. So that's kind of how I got into it. And I involved going on a journey, doing research, making friends, people who seem to know what they were talking about. And that's got me to where I am now.
Awesome. That's a great story. Fascinating. All right, cool. So with that being said, obviously, your newsletter helps out investors and real estate investors. We kind of talked about it a little bit. With that being said, what are you trying to do and who can you help and who should reach out to you, connect to you and see they can be helped by you or your newsletter or whatever you guys do?
Yeah. So everyone everyone's affected by the cycle. I mean, we've just gone through the middle point of the cycle and, we've all been affected by it. But specifically, we try and help investors who are trying to time the market, trying to make investment decisions, understand where we are in the cycle, give them a sense of what's happening next. And most importantly, if we're correct in our analysis of the cycle, what to do about it. So, for example, for stock market investors, we produce annual forecasts, which with a curve for the Dow Jones or the NASDAQ. For real estate investors, we give them commentary on, where real estate markets are at, such that they're prepared to take advantage. And I should say that, once we get through the current recession, I think we're looking at potentially the biggest boom of all time over the next 5 to 6 years. So it's really a good time to be understanding how the cycle works and what you can do about it.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's a good point, which is the reason I actually hit you up. Was your whole view was a little bit not slightly
different
from other viewpoints I've seen. So can you just dig into a little bit? I know we can't do the presentation here. You did a presentation on Adam's
which is on YouTube, so investors.
Yeah, YouTube. So I will post that too. Credit to Adam. But yeah, can you just briefly go through that?
Yeah, so it's an 18-year cycle with about 14 years up and 4 years of crisis and recovery. And we're in actually the middle point of that 14-year expansion, which typically involves a recession. Now, you might say, well, this is a really major, unprecedented recession. That's true in a sense, but it's partly because, we've never really had a situation where the government has told us to stop working. But it's not true in the sense that it's involved a major collapse in the land market, which is what happens at the end of that 14-year period, which really affects the banking system and causes a lot of economic problems that take some time to work out. So I think at the middle point of the cycle, yes, there's a recession. Yes, it does affect investors pretty negatively. If if you bought in near the top of the stock market, you're obviously going to have some difficulties for a few months. But it is much easier for the government to engineer a recovery. And I think then, and what typically happens for the second half of that of the 14-year expansion is the government thinks it knows how to manage the economy, and investors load up, and it drives the cycle to the peak, which is kind of one of the reasons why it's such a big second half of the cycle.
Awesome. Again, I'll post that video or YouTube where Akhil did a great presentation with all the graphs and everything, and on his explanation why he thinks where it's heading and all that stuff. Now, with that being said, the last question: what's the one thing you can share about either that has helped you in your personal life or your professional that can help others too? What's the most effective thing, I guess, for you?
Gosh, that's a good question. So, I mean, there's really quite a lot of things, maybe not one thing, but maybe the one thing that I suppose has got me to where I am in terms of sort of understanding cycles is to be open-minded. So it's quite an alternative way of thinking. I mean, in my view, is based on very rigorous evidence and a lot of history. But I think I needed to be open-minded to kind of see that the common explanations of economic events didn't really make sense, and being open to new way of thinking. And so I suppose that's the one thing that I'd say. But there's a lot of other things. I mean, working hard and building good networks and all that kind of stuff is really important as well, and it's helped me tremendously along the way.
Awesome. Yeah, no, the open-mindedness, we talked about Ray Dalio about that. So he has the same thing. But yeah, great advice, Akhil. Again, thanks for taking the time. I'll post all Akhil's, obviously links with the video, and please connect with him if you're looking for some insights. And like I said, it's a little bit contrary, so it'd be great to get his data and find out why he thinks what's coming. So, all right, thanks everyone. Thanks, Akhil.
Thank you very much.